I have to answer some questions today. Michael, what's the greatest mafia movie ever, of all time? The greatest mafia movie of all time. I'm going to say mafia movie. The two greatest are always... Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody's doing well. Everything is great on this end. Praise God for that. I always give him all the praise, honor, and glory for that. I have to answer some questions today. I don't know why I get asked this all the time, but everybody's, Michael, what's the greatest mafia movie ever, of all time? The greatest mafia movie of all time. I'm going to say mafia movie, not mob movie, because certain mob movies don't always have something to do with the mafia. But the two greatest are always told to be these two: Godfather, Goodfella. When I say Godfather, you can only say Godfather 1 and 2, almost the same, but it's always Godfather or Goodfellas. And people have their own opinion of both. And of course, this is very subjective. I may say I like Godfather better, and some people say, no, Michael, Goodfellas was better. It was more realistic. Who knows? It's very subjective. What you like or dislike is totally up to you. But there are certain things, certain elements of a film that kind of put it, like right on top. And I'm going to talk about a couple of them, and we'll see which one comes out which way. Now, I'm going to give you my opinion as to these certain, characteristics of a movie that make it great. It's my opinion. You may disagree with me. If you do, go ahead. Tell me why. Love to hear it. No problem. This isn't a big deal. But I think we look at these two movies as two of the greatest mafia movies of all time. Now, let me just throw this in. You've heard me say this many times, many times. The 1996 Gotti movie with Armand Assante, I thought, and Anthony Quinn, brilliant. One of my favorite movies. If you ask me, I could watch that movie more than any one of these. I just love it. I love the job that Armand did. Anthony Quinn was brilliant as Neil Delacroix. It was just a brilliant movie in every which way. That's my opinion. But is it considered one of the greatest of the two mafia movies up there? No. It's either Godfather or Goodfellas. I hear this all the time. So as a result of that, I'm going to talk about it. The categories are kind of like, the tone of the movie, the characters, the imagery, how does the movie look? The plot, of course. The plot is everything. If a movie is scrambled and mixed up and you don't know really where it's going, it usually is a mess in that regard. So the plot is very important. Is it humorous? Is there any humor that kind of add to the drama and the intrigue in the movie? Soundtrack is always important. We love movies with good soundtracks. And of course, is it watchable? Can you watch it more than once? If you can only watch a movie once, forget it. It's not that great. So let's get into all those different categories, and I'll tell you where I stand on it. You let me know how you feel, and we'll see where it comes out at the end. I haven't figured this out yet. As far as the tone of the movie, The Godfather was romanticized in such a way. When you saw that movie, you loved the characters. You loved Don Corleone. He was a guy of respect. He had integrity. It romanticized, his whole character romanticized, the mafia in such a way that on the street, I am telling you, guys started to carry themselves differently after they saw the movie. It just brought a romanticism to the mafia life that we'd never seen before. Before that, you had Al Capone killing everybody. It was a whole different thing. You had a lot of murders, you had a lot of stuff, but it just kind of put it in a different category. You thought Don Corleone was a great guy. He's got his daughter's wedding. He's doing favors for people that he can't refuse on the day of his daughter's wedding. He had a glamorous lifestyle. He had a lot of money. He was a wealthy guy. He lived in a big place. Even when they killed, you justified their killing because it was romanticized in that way. You didn't look at it as murder. These are bad guys. You looked at it, hey, justified. These guys killed with integrity. At least that's how I saw it. So, as far as the tone of the movie, it was highly romanticized, and it did so much for the image of the mob back then. It was unbelievable. Let's go to Goodfellas. Goodfellas, reality. It was the way it was. They didn't romanticize it in any way. I don't think you looked at that and said, wow, these guys, what amazing figures. No. Henry Hill, You saw what he was. He had a drug problem, always trying to earn a dollar. Jimmy Burke was kind of a rough guy in that way. Even Paulie Vario, the character he played, there was nothing romantic about it. You saw that they were trying to earn money all the time. It didn't elevate them to a different position like we saw in The Godfather. So I think for the tone of the movie, we have to give the edge to The Godfather at that point. I think it set itself up differently in that regard, to be an epic kind of movie, an epic piece. Let's go to characters. I'm sorry. The characters that were created in The Godfather, Don Corleone, one of a kind. You'll never see that again. I mean, he was just amazing. He was a mobster with dignity, with respect, with integrity. He never really got upset. One time, remember, when he was telling the singer how to act like a man, you know, but you never seen him get mad. Even at the commission meeting when he was talking about, you know, bringing Michael back. He was making a threat, but it was very calm the way he was doing it. He just held himself the right way. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant character. Michael Corleone, Al Pacino, same way. Once or twice you've seen him lose his temper just for a brief moment, you know, but you never knew what was really going on with him by his words. It was his expressions. Brilliant character. Robert Duvall, you know, brilliant. Remember the way he carried himself when the movie producer was getting upset with him, started to yell with him. He didn't answer back. He just said, okay. Just brilliant characters were created, all of them in that film. And it's kind of hard to duplicate that in any way. Now, of course, you know, Goodfellas, great. I mean, Henry Hill, good character. He played the role well. Robert De Niro's always great. Joe Pesci, for what he played, he was terrific, no doubt about it. But I think, you know, characters, you know, the magnitude of the characters, I think you got to give it to Godfather in that. So far it's Godfather 2-0. I would say, you know, head to head in those two areas, you got to give it to the Godfather. Pacing of the film, you know, you ever sit through a film, you say, oh, what's happening next? This is slowing down, what's going on? That's been somewhat of a criticism of The Godfather, that it's slowed down in spots. Not me. To me, every scene was brilliant. Even the slow scenes, I was kind of hanging on every word that they were saying, hanging on every expression. But a lot of people thought it was slow. It's 3 hours, let's face it. So maybe the pacing was kind of slow on that, and it could have went down in spots. Goodfellas, different. Every scene was boom, boom, boom. There were short scenes, and they were all power-packed, every single one of them. And of course, Joe Pesci brought a lot of that energy in. Every time you seen his character, boom, 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 it moved quickly. So I think pacing of the film, if there was any criticism of all of The Godfather, it had to be that it slowed down. So as far as the pacing of that film, I have to give the edge to Goodfellas. So we got Godfather 2, Goodfellas 1 so far. The imagery, cinematography, the look of the film, Godfather, I mean, just brilliant. The cinematography was great. I love period pieces. I love the automobiles that they drove. I love the clothing. I love the look, you know, the scenery when the Godfather was out on the street and he got killed. I love that whole visual of it. The cinematography was great. When they killed the guy in the car, remember, and he was in that grassy field and you saw the Statue of Liberty in the background. That was just brilliant, brilliant stuff. So imagery for the Godfather, you know, to me, second to none. Goodfellas was great. You know, I think Scorsese was handicapped there because it wasn't a period piece. Really, it was more of what was happening at the time. You know, the 60s, the 70s, right about that time, into the 80s. So it was done brilliantly. I mean, Scorsese always does everything brilliantly like that. But as far as the imagery and the total look of the film, that kind of epic look, got to give it to The Godfather. So far we got The Godfather 3 categories they win, and Goodfellas 1. Humor. Was there any humor at all in The Godfather? I didn't see it. I don't think there was anything funny about it. Maybe one little part when Sonny is saying something to Michael. Remember when they were sitting around at the table and Michael was talking about maybe killing the cop or killing Sollozzo, and Sonny makes a wisecrack remark to him. Slightly humorous, not terrific, but slightly humorous. But Goodfellas got it all. I mean, the Joe Pesci scene in the restaurant, remember that? Funny how. That was a very funny scene. And Pesci makes you laugh. I mean, he did. I thought when Robert De Niro went behind Morty, remember? And he was, the wig was falling off his head. I thought that was funny. That's my sense of humor anyway. So anyway, hands down with humor, Goodfellas takes that category. And it kind of broke things up because that was an intense film. But the humor broke it up a little bit, and I appreciated that. I enjoyed that. So as far as humor, let's give it to Goodfellas. We're getting up there neck and neck pretty soon. Okay, the plot. I think Godfather plot was amazing, the way he built that. And it really all starts right from the beginning. Remember, this all leads up to Michael taking over and Michael doing what he did, becoming boss, avenging his father. Started out at the wedding. Michael's a war hero. You know, he says to Kate there, that's my father's business. It's not me. I'm not part of that life. And then we see that transformation, you know, of Michael, you know, after the assassination attempt on Don Corleone. And then Michael, the transformation is complete. When? When he murders Sollozzo and the cop. And then you see him going the other way, you know, the scene to Italy, then he comes back and he ends up being the boss. The plot line in Godfather was amazing, and it was seamlessly followed through. It was just terrific. Goodfellas, again, a little harder to work with because it was a real story, but how does it end, you know, with Henry Hill becoming an informant and really turning against everybody? We knew that if we knew the story of Henry Hill, but we didn't see that right away. But we saw problems with Henry, you know, he was doing drugs and wasn't supposed to be doing that. So you knew there was going to be some kind of trouble with him. But I think, you know, since it was a fictional plot in The Godfather and it was designed so perfectly well and just kept your attention and it was amazing transformation, I think you have to give that to Godfather. So, Godfather's in the lead. Musical, the soundtrack. You know, the score to The Godfather was great. It was a brilliant score, but you don't remember it if you're not watching the movie. There was really no soundtrack to it. It was just the scoring. And it was great, no doubt about it. Blended in with the movie perfectly. But the soundtrack of Goodfellas was terrific. I mean, Tony Bennett and Aretha Franklin and I think the Rolling Stones and a host of others. It was a brilliant soundtrack. It was fitted in so seamlessly with the movie, with the different scenes. So I think in that regard, you got to give it to Goodfellas. They had a better soundtrack for sure. Historical content, even though Godfather was fictional, there was historical content to it. It took place between 1945 and 1955, right after World War II. Remember, Michael comes out, he's a war hero at that point in time. The story follows through. Don Corleone was an immigrant, came over from Sicily at the turn of the century. Why did he and his family come over? Remember, in reality, Mussolini was declaring war on the Mafia in Sicily. And many, you know, in real life, many of the guys came over at that time. Joe Bonanno, Luciano, a whole bunch of them, they came over at the turn of the century because Mussolini was cracking down on the Mafia. So as far as historical content is concerned, I'm giving it a tie because Goodfellas' hands were kind of tied because it was a real piece that happened at that time. And Godfather was able to create the historical content. So, but I call it a tie. I don't think anyone had the edge in that regard. Okay, so now we go to the last one, which, you know what, is so important because how many times you want to watch a movie? Now, honestly, when Godfather comes up, I can't watch it all the time because I say, oh, I got to devote 3 hours to this. Don't really have the time to do that, or maybe my head isn't saying, okay, I'm going to give you 3 hours. Even though it's a brilliant movie, I have seen it obviously more than one time, but it's kind of tough to sit down and watch it all the way through often. Goodfellas is different. I can sit down, you know, it's a 2-hour film and I can watch it. It moves quicker. So as far as being, you know, which is more watchable, I think you got to give the edge to Goodfellas. Again, it doesn't take away from the greatness of the film, but it is important. You know, we're talking about reality, about films. I think Goodfellas would be more watchable to the general audience. So where do we go for tone, character, imagery, and plot? We got The Godfather. So The Godfather wins in 4 categories: tone, character, imagery, and plot. For pacing, humor, soundtrack, and watchable, we got Goodfellas. So that's 4 categories that Goodfellas has. So we have Godfather having 4, Goodfellas having 4, and then for historical content, I have them as a tie. This is my view, my perspective of the films, my opinion. So as far as which one was the greatest, they're kind of in a tie. How's that? Does that satisfy everybody? I know it's not. Some people are going to come on, Michael, you know The Godfather was better. You know Goodfellas was better. I'm going to hear it, but that's okay. I want to hear it. This is subjective. It's all my opinion in the movie, and we all have our own opinions. Some of you may come back and say, no, Michael, it was Godfather 2 that was the greatest movie, or you may come up with something else. That's fine. Let me know. Let me hear it in the comment section. But you got to give it to both of those movies. They were tremendous. You know, The Godfather was an epic film, and Goodfellas, for what it was, you know, was an amazing, brilliant film. And don't ever forget Gotti, 1996, with Armand Assante and Anthony Quinn. I'm always going to mention that film because it was brilliant. So, That's it for today. Let me know what your thoughts are, and how do I always leave you the same way? I'm going to get through this one quick. Be safe. I don't have to emphasize it again. Be healthy. People say, you know, Michael, you're looking good, you're working out. Yeah, but I'm more concerned what's going on inside my body. That's why I work out. I try to eat right. My family keeps me on track. It's what's going on inside that counts. But fortunately, when you're working on the inside, the outside benefits also. So that's how it goes. So do both. Be safe, be healthy. God bless every one of you. And yes, I do mean it, especially in these tough times we're having. God bless you. And yes, I will see you next time. Take care.